Hi, and welcome. This is a crossover episode between AI in the classroom and
Computer Science for Nebraska.
Yeah, so CS4NE is back.
Woo!
Baby, February, and we're on. And today we're going to talk about going beyond search. So AI, for so many first-time users, it's just like they're using it like Google. So they're just saying, okay, I'll look on AI. And I think Google didn't help by creating the AI summaries at the head of every search because you feel like you're using AI and this is how I should be using AI. And it's a fine way to use AI.
It is. Yep.
But it's far from being the full story. So today we're going to talk about going beyond that by really having conversations with fictional characters. So walk us through some of this.
Yeah. So I stumbled upon this resource while I was doing some research, but this really came from the idea of students should be learning to use AI more than just chatting with it.
Yeah.
And just by that I mean the searching aspect of chatting, like what is the hypotenuse of whatever. I want them to use it more. And so I came across this gentleman and he actually has it broken down. So he suggests the idea of having ChatGPT take on different role-playing personalities. And so a couple examples that he gave was by having this pose as a 5th grade math class and that it is a hexagon.
Yes.
So the students can interact with this hexagon and ask it questions about hexagons, which I thought was a really cute idea. He also had one where you can chat with the element Mercury and get its opinions on things, I guess.
Not the planet.
But not the planet, the element.
Not the god.
But you could could make it any of those.
Okay.
And so then it's just a different interaction. So it's a little bit beyond the search aspect.
Yeah.
But more of a role-playing personality.
And I think the most important thing for you as a teacher is to think about how do I put guardrails around it? So what if I'm doing pre-programming? So in a previous episode in AI in the classroom, I talked about vibe coding. You can, if you're creating it, I would create it as a box, not let kids create it necessarily. And I would put in some formal constraints that would reduce the chance that anything will go wrong. Obviously, you've got to get approval if you're letting kids handle it directly.
Yeah. Yep.
But the one thing you can add to it is you can manage it as the teacher. And so kids are asking questions, and I'm thinking especially about the elementary kids. It's like they're asking questions, so you put the hexagon and then you type in the questions that kids have. Or even better, just thought about this.
Yes.
Voice mode, people.
Oh.
Voice mode. You can ask the questions directly in voice mode. So one kid can come up to the front of the class, ask the question, hear the answer, especially with young kids.
Yes, and they can't type. That's a really good
idea.
idea.
Be magical.
That's a good idea.
All right. What
I was
else
going to
do you
say,
have?
so also before we talk about the next thing, you can kind of look at this prompt and just how extensive of a prompt it is. And it, I also like this last part. If the question falls outside of your training data or the answer might be speculative, please make it clear that the response is based on available information up to your last update and encourage students to explore further with additional research or discussion. So I don't know. I kind of like how he has these prompts phrased, but Guy's exactly correct. You want to make sure there's good guardrails. So maybe this is something you would give your students the prompt to before they get into that.
Yeah, and that's why I like the gems in Gemini or the projects in Claude or the equivalent in ChatGPT. I think it's also projects.
Yep.
Don't quite remember, but they are critical because then you're creating a box that you can play with before and you know that that reacts still to that and not just opening up all of ChatGPT to kids. So
yeah,
that's
and
a balance.
Another thought I had is you can take this a little bit further with historical figures, where you can have kids interact with a chatbot that is a historical or that is role playing as a historical figure, so that they can kind of get a little more information, or someone who is on the Oregon Trail and you can interact with them, like. Asking questions about that. So I think you can just bring it to life a little bit more, even though this is still a more basic usage of AI and you're still searching a little bit. It's a little bit beyond what people would normally have done.
And what I love about it is that while you're learning the content, it's an opportunity to talk about what AI can do, what are the boundaries, what are the things we don't want to do, because one of the things we're worried about are things like character AI, and we do not know exactly how that interacts with social emotional development of kids. So especially with younger kids, you need to take great care and you need to make sure that this does not take over, and you talk about ways that we don't want them to interact with AI and ways that they do, without giving them ideas.
Right.
Right. Have taught middle school, know that whenever you tell kids not to do something, they will do it just to see what will happen. So you have to be a little bit more agile in thinking about how you talk about these boundaries.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll see you next time on AI in the Classroom and on
CS4NE.